Hello, it's Brian Whitten and ET How are you all today? We're going to have a video with a difference today. We're not going to talk too much about planetary motion and whatnot, and the video name is The Case of the Missing Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister we speak of is Scott Morrison. I still have my trusty stick here, and we will go over a few things in relation to what all of the videos on my channel are to do with, but I wanted to discuss how, as you can see by these entries here, that they are questioning him as to whether his departure to Hawaii in the midst of the bushfires at Christmas time, say last summer or last year, whether that was an appropriate behaviour or whatever of the Prime Minister. In fact, leaving was whether that was in the interest of the nation. So I would like also to involve discussion in this video. This person here, whose name is Mick Fuller, he is New South Wales Police Commissioner, who wrote to me, and I wrote to him, and he did reply only a couple of weeks back. I won't go into that, but to invite him into this inquiry. I will address you correctly, Commissioner Fuller. I invite you to go through this case study that I'm going to go and do, and being a commissioner I would expect you to have worked your way through the ranks. Therefore you are a detective. Detectives work with facts. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through a case. I'll present my case to you. You are a Commissioner of Police. You can then look at the facts that I put before you and assess whether or not they are related to Mr. Morrison's behaviour on or around Christmas time and other factors that have taken place during that period of time. Now, going on with our investigation, Commissioner Fuller, I'll call you sir from now rather than call you that, although I will use that term loosely, or like I said, I shouldn't judge you just on your response. I do realise we're in different times. On my channel, sir, there are many hours of videos. This is fact. They are all to do with the Earth's rotation around the Sun. This also too is fact. It doesn't matter whether they're right or wrong, they're there. It's fact. Okay. What also is fact is that I contacted, and provable by the replies from the Gov server, my replies from the Prime Minister, which means I've contacted him about my findings in all of my videos. This also too is fact, as is the fact that you're more than likely listening to what I'm doing here and will be well aware of what I'm putting in this video before it's actually uploaded. That may not be fact. Now we go on with our investigation, sir, and we look at this video, which is one of my uploaded videos, and what do we see happen here? We see a situation where a rock, to all intensive purposes, as unbelievable as it may seem, gets lines drawn on it in the middle of me making a video, and the lines are later to reveal a very pertinent and very pertinent thing. Whether that be my opinion, that's irrelevant, because that line getting drawn there is fact, because it's happening. We are seeing it happen. This line here getting drawn, that too is also fact. It happened. We are watching it happen. It is fact. Whether or not my interpretation of those lines is correct, that's irrelevant. Once again, we're dealing with fact. The image you see on the screen now, sir, is also where we go next in our little investigation as to the PM's departure. I posted videos that said that was a 4 in Roman numerals. That's a fact. Whether you think it's a 4 in Roman numerals, to a degree, is probably irrelevant, but I would expect you, sir, are not stupid. You've seen that in very many documents and bits and pieces of paper that you've read since you left school, just the same way I did. And it was written like that, 1V, and it normally followed 3 strikes, didn't it? 111 was directly above it. 4. You could argue the point, and you could. But the same rock there, and that is also fact, now has a 17 on it. It's the same part of the rock, which is also fact, and that it now has 1-7 where it had 1V. It is pretty easy to see that it is changed, is it not? It is the same rock, which is fact, and it now has changed, which is also fact. And I put it in my video that these changes, and we were told, were related to a plant comet impact. I had my dates wrong, but the fact is I had uploaded videos to let the Prime Minister know that there was an event going to happen. The 17, and I will bring your attention to this event. Our next step in our journey of interest is Tunguska. The event we are seeing on the screen here was in Russia in 1908. So it was an actual fact an event that happened on the 30th of June, 111 years and 1 day from July 1st last year. July 1st is 1-7. This event is 111 years and 1 day from that event. So then, sir, when we come back here and we see the 1-7 here, where it used to have 4 in Roman numerals, and I had, at this point, realised that these unnatural cycles that I am putting in my videos of the planet around the sun reflected a threat to the 666 people on our planet, and these people that go around and do such unspeakable things to children and such things. The fact is that that is what's in my videos. It does not matter whether I'm right or wrong. The fact is, that is the contents of my videos, and the fact is, the Prime Minister knows about the channel, and the fact is that I said that the 17 was reflective of the next 17 months leading to the plane, or the planet meeting the plane of the sun, which was a threat, and that we would be dealt with because we were the first ones to get the first 6 months. It doesn't matter whether I was right or wrong. That is what is in my videos. And that is fact. The next step in our path of inquiry is this parchment. That is an Egyptian parchment. It has 24 pillars on this side and 12 on this side, which in my video and my interpretation and understanding of such a thing, with a single line on the parchment that extends from here right there all the way down. I'll move in so you can see it there. Being a detective, I would expect, or at least in the past, you'd be interested in such things. But whether my interpretation of the meaning of such a thing is, once again, irrelevant. The point is, in my video, it says the 24th of the 12th at 3 AM. And at this point, I was saying it was next year. This was in July last year, when these rocks are changing the numbers on them, and I'm trying to understand why. So whether I be right or wrong in that interpretation, it is irrelevant, because what we're doing is we're posting videos online with direct communication to the Prime Minister's office about what I was saying. That is the relevant. That is also fact, and it is also true and provable. Whether I'm right or wrong with the interpretation is irrelevant. The fact is, the video online says what my interpretation was. This comet impact, sir, our next place of call, it is in the middle of Western Australia. That is a fact. I said in my video that it was an actual fact. The reason why, and for the centre wall in the Sacsayhuaman walls in Peru, which is built on the very same line of longitude that tilted, that also is fact, and it is known by a great many people. It's written into the pyramids, and that is also fact and known by a great many people. Thus the 666 sequences we see through our sequences, which they also know of. But we won't go there. We'll stay here, because in actual fact that is a fact, that's what it is. And it's actually on the same line of trajectory. If you follow this down, it goes directly through Canberra, or the line of Canberra, It was fact that I was using that in my video as explaining why there was going to be a comet impact and where it was going to come from. I opened Google Earth now for the next part of our investigation into the whereabouts of our Prime Minister at Christmas time and why. As I started the video, sir, we had fires all the way down this side of the east coast of Australia and Victoria, you know, New South Wales and Queensland, they were everywhere. That is also fact, which is why I started the video with it. Is that not correct? And that he vacated the country in the midst of that situation. That is what happened. That is also fact. It is also fact that if I follow the line from that comet that I've just shown you, sir, if I follow the line of trajectory there, like I said, from that comet, sir, its destination is down here, to which is where I said in my last video, this is also fact, that I've said that the comet that's going to hit Canberra is going to break into two, land there, and the other one's going to land in the US installation. That's also fact. And the trajectory there of the very comet is going down to the point I said it's going to land right there, which is also directly under Uluru. This is also fact that that's the case there. That's not me making it up, that's where it is. That's the Uluru line, that's the line of longitude that I said in my videos tilted. That's where the axis of the planet went like this, sir. Right there. It's actually right there on that red line, sir, where Maralinga bombs went off, and it's also on the same red line when you go right up here to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But we won't go there, sir, because that's getting us a little bit further away from and way beyond the time of our current Prime Minister. But we are now sitting at the east coast of Australia. The line of predicted line of the comet, the distance between there and the distance of the damage of the comet I just showed you is also exactly the same distance, which is fact. And this is where I said in my videos it was going to land here and remove the landmass all the way through to Canberra, that the damage would be that big and that the comet was going to be 16 kilometres wide, which is the width of the comet that we looked at in the Western Australian outback. That is also fact that was in my video. So this is our point of impact, removing the entire landmass here. Imagine how many people would have been killed. That movement of land is not going to just hurt people here, it's the entire world. The landmass and movement of the earth is calculated by this inserted image here. These three walls, albeit you might say, Brian, that's not what they're there for. That's exactly what they're there for. They are there for us to track the trajectory of the three comets that tilted the planet, which is why it's where it is, on the very same line of longitude that actually tilted it. But we won't go there because we've got to concentrate on our Prime Minister. As I started the video, sir, I said there have been bushfires all the way up and down the east coast, and it was all through the Christmas period from towards the mid-December, and that inevitably the situation was that my predicted comet, had we have had a comet, we wouldn't have seen it coming, because you couldn't even see the sun in the middle of the day here. So without doubt, had my prediction been correct and a comet been due to hit, we actually wouldn't have seen it because of the amount of fires, which is why I've said to you and suggested to you just a minute ago that you know full well, and it is also a fact, that many of the fires were being lit deliberately. So therefore it is not, you're a detective. I've just told you that we are in a situation here of a comet. He knew full well the videos are online and the content that was in them, yet he departs the country at the very day and the very week I said it was going to happen. He not only departed the country, but I would expect a lot of people along the coast here involved in such shenanigans as what is being hidden by our Parliament, that in actual fact the fires were started for exactly that reason, so we didn't see a comet that they thought was coming. That's why the fires were lit all the way down the east coast of Australia, and it's exactly the same reason why they were lit in Africa, because they expected the comet to come from the south. That's why they had all the fires here as well. They were expecting it to be on the trajectory that I just told you it would come on, which is exactly that. That is also fact. It's even got my lines here on the map of where I was telling you it was coming from. That is also fact. I bring up the rock again before I move on with my next image and say that, like I said, I thought that was 17. Whether you think that's 17 or not, sir, is irrelevant. The point is, in my videos I said it was 17, and it was 17 months from the Tunguska event that we've already spoken of, and that the comet was therefore due because the first one, whether it be right or wrong, it's irrelevant, was in my videos to say that that was the case, and that was 17 months. Remember that this is the very same rock that's got this image here, has produced the written lines on it in the process of making the video that is also uploaded. One cannot forget fact being created in front of you because it was fact. This is also fact that it doesn't say 17, or it says 17 still, whether I shine the light from the side or whatever. My interpretation was 17, and it was this Christmas that the comet was due, right when the fires were on, right when everybody lit the east coast of both countries. I should say continents, really. The continent of Africa was ablaze, the continent of Australia ablaze, the very time the comet they thought was due. That's what's happened. Now, Commissioner Fuller, I have on the screen at the moment a diagram I prepared a little earlier, and it was going to show us a topology of both the coast of Australia's east coast and a typical Hawaiian coast. And what we're going to do is discuss the behaviour of tidal waves or tsunamis. My past experience certainly does not bring into planetary science as one of the studies that I've attended university or TAFE courses or whatever, as I would expect none of you haven't either, sir. However, both of us are very, very lucky in that we're both born, and I would expect, well, I was born on the east coast of Australia. I know you lived at Cronulla Beach at one point and was even neighbours with the Prime Minister and the person to which we're referring to. And I believe you were neighbours at Cronulla, so I'm assuming, and I know it's not good to assume, that you are probably still living in Cronulla, and as are many of your friends and family. I will go on here to explain that between you and I we're lucky because we spent time on the coast. I have spent many, many hours surfing. When you go to surf, you paddle out the back and you take off on what is a wave, and the reason you do so, I would imagine, as you living on the New South Wales coast enter the water as I do and have done many times, and as you go out here what you're seeing is the waves breaking. As a surfer you would paddle out through the rip, get to the point where it was breaking so that you'd ride the wave. In other words, the wave's going to break in the shallower water. If you see the same swell hit an ocean wall of rock that is 100 feet deep, the water just goes like that. There are no white caps, there is no breaking wave. Now we'll go back to our other image. I'll bring you back to the diagram now, sir, and say there are things in life you do not need to be trained in to have an understanding. Purely and simply water flow in an ocean. I've drawn to you the topology of both land masses. The Hawaiian Islands are a mountain ridge that comes out of a really, really deep ocean. When a tidal wave hits such a land mass, it in actual fact does exactly that. There is no continental shelf as such. There are areas, obviously, where you're not going to see the rising ocean rise by 50 feet and not cause a tsunami. If there is flat land to the coast on the direction the wave comes from, it will inevitably or cause a major problem. But what I'm saying to you, not getting 200 miles of continental shelf here. It's in actual fact the very safest place to be because you can actually get up very, very quickly. If I was a detective and inspecting what it is we need to inspect, we would be going to have a look at where he actually stayed, because I'm hedging my bets he wasn't in a hotel near the beach, but he was up a little bit higher, quite a bit higher back off the coast. I could be wrong, but I would look at that. On this side, on the other hand, sir, we're seeing, say that red dot there is Cronulla. Cronulla, from memory, and I've been to Cronulla many times, is a very, very flat area. We'll go back to Google Earth again, sir, and have a look. Now, I've got the kernel open there, sir, so you can have a fair idea what we're talking about. From memory, I used to live at one point around this area here. It's all very, very high, you know, sandstone. Not as high as where I used to live, sir. I was further up here, Central Coast area. The cliff faces further up the coast are far, far higher in respect to some of these here around my area. Where you live, sir, or where you used to live, if you still is in this area here. So right on the coast, and very, 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 very flat land. Nearly all of this land here, from memory, all of it, none of it is particularly high. It is off the coast, but it is extremely close, especially in here. All of this area here is very, very low, and any wave coming here would be washing right across. Now, I've shown you what the difference is. The difference is here, sir, on this coast, is between Kurnell and, say, out here, the continental shelf. You have some 50 kilometres or so of land that's very, very shallow oceans, and then it drops very deep, so it's very, very deep off here. What happens here is, I'm sure you're aware, you're not a silly man, nor am I. We do not need training in such things. The difference in the wave that hits the coast there, as opposed to the one that would have hit over in Hawaii, and the damage be far, far different. So when we come back to the topology of both these coasts, sir, understand that the 50 kilometres that I've just told you of very, very shallow oceans off the coast of Cronulla, which is where you live, or used to live next door, we have a situation where those 50 kilometres, where the ocean rises here, and the tidal waves or tsunamis that would have been struck in Hawaii, the ones in Australia would have been like this, sir. That is in actual fact exactly what happens. You know that as well as I do. The ocean lifts extremely quickly. The waves would have come across here. The result would not be a couple of 100,000s. It would have been billions, and it would have been worldwide. That's what would have happened had, as I said, happened. And where does our fearless Prime Minister go, Mr. Commissioner? He goes and puts himself on the island in the middle of the Pacific with the deepest oceans in every direction. How many people from our federal parliament were putting themselves in the same position? I must ask, where were you, sir? Did you get told? Did you get told that that was likely to happen this Christmas by Mr. Morrison, sir, being a next door neighbour? You had friends, family, loved ones in these areas. What happened, sir? Now, Mr. Commissioner, I did say at the start of this video, I didn't want to go into too much into, well, you know, planetary movement and such things, what we've already discussed, and what the many hours of work that I put up on here to let people know, all of which has been very heavily manipulated on my channel. It's not hard to tell. I'm not a stupid person. You are not a stupid person, which is why I'm addressing you as opposed to the Prime Minister. This period here, I've said, is 9 months, and like I said, it could be wrong, it could be right. I would expect it's going to be 100% correct. I've also said in my previous videos that the crossing of the plane of the sun, as I've already explained with parchment, is on the 24th of the 12th. If we went back before, the day before Christmas, so Christmas Eve, and we go back, in this case, 9 months, okay? We want to go back 9 months. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, is the crossing of the plane of the sun. The 24th is the night, Christmas Eve. I want to show you something, because as much as you might want to say, yeah sure Brian, I've said that these are the 3 months and there are 3 lessons that are to be served. Now, on to our next part of the adventure. I wanted you to see this, sir, because I do my job properly if I've got one to do. At least I try my best. Whether I do it the best, I don't know. I certainly try hard. This is a rock I had a friend give me yesterday. I wanted to give you an idea what we're talking about when we're talking about the tsunamis we're talking about here. When we're talking about planetary movement in the manner in which we are told it moves. I want you to realise that what you're seeing here is waves. You live on the coast, sir. You know full well what a wave looks like. Isn't that amazing? The technology. These are the headlands and the hills here, sir. Down here. This is the headlands and the mountain ranges. Cronulla could be down here somewhere. This is the size of the waves they're talking about, sir. That's why this is here. It's for us to know what was going to happen should the planet not be allowed to be put back on the plane in the manner they want to do it. I wanted you to see that, sir, because what date did we just talk of? What is the date we just left with? Here's another portion, sir, of the same. I'll just stand in the light there so you don't get that light reflection. Here is another portion that shows the same sort of event, sir. What happens here is it's major. This is not like, you'll have to excuse that mower. What we're seeing is major tidal waves. We're not talking about Japan tsunami here, sir. We are talking massive tsunamis that sweep our land. And what did our Prime Minister do? He went to Hawaii on the very day that that was forecast to happen, sir. I would, if you would, sir, I'd like you to watch just for a second this image. I see it as a man. Quite easy to see his eye. He's actually got a tear coming down his eye, and he has a bit of a crown on his head up here as well. But he's obviously upset because he has a tear in his eye in certain lighting. When I move around to the other side here, I see that. You see that flash up? You'll see a very bright lot of numbers come up on the very edge of the rock where the man is seen crying. We go to the other side and we have a situation where we have a number written here. I'll just let that play, sir, and I'll let you decide what date that says, because it has the date they're going to arrive here and put things right. I told you that the already says that 9 months before the crossing of the plane of the sun. That comes up with the number 3. It has a dot, and then it has 25 written after it. And I'll leave it there, and you can watch it, and I'll let you decide. I'm more than happy, if you wish me to post that as an original video to you. No point, like I said, coming and taking my rocks, because this stuff's on every rock. I know you're getting a bit of reflection in my lounge room and kitchen areas there, but that's just the way it is. I'll show you closer to where the numbers are displayed, and we'll see if we can't make them a little bit clearer. Now the bloke with his mower has just stopped the mower. I've just zoomed in a little bit closer there so you can see that a little bit clearly, a little bit more clearly. Sometimes I don't. That obviously looks totally useless. But I'm just going to zoom around here now and just see if we can't get to where those numbers come out pretty clearly. And like I said, you can see that there is a 0 behind the 3 over there as well at times. It does change obviously as you're moving the light around, but this is part of the nature of the beast, so to speak. Yes, it is 3.25 when I get it correct and get the lighting exactly right. And 3.25 is the 25th of March, which is in actual fact 9 months from when I said the crossing of the plane was on the Egyptian parchment. So it also corresponds, albeit it may not be overly clear there, with what I said. So in reality, that's what's actually happening. We're being told that we're getting their visit here on that date, the 25th of March. And you know I've mentioned dates before, but I think under certain circumstances there's a time you actually got to do the job properly. So I do the job properly. That's my job. Okay, I got given a job. It was, for some reason or other, solve the pyramids, sort this stuff out. I've sorted the stuff out now, but you blokes have got to do your jobs. People that do not do their jobs, so you're on the list. That's what's going down here. You know, this is the 25th of this month we're talking about. You know, I'll show you one or two more things, really, really concerning. I want you to have a look at them. You are a detective, you're a Commissioner of Police. I need you to look at this. What we're looking at now, Commissioner Fuller, is the Pine Gap installation, which is US government property within Australian boundaries. I know that you are not a military person, sir, but you are Commissioner of Police, and to further the investigation to which we were just referring to, I wanted to just zoom out for a minute just to show you that in actual fact, and I do realise this is long, long, long before the time of the people in control now. On that red line there, sir, where you see the untitled place mark here, that is actually the line of earth that was tilted, the line of longitude. It is also, as I've mentioned, Maralinga is on that line, and when you go directly up, you get to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They're also directly on the line. They were events caused by the military of given different countries, but I bring your attention once again to where that Pine Gap was in respect that line. Okay, and it is highlighted in the rock as being a point of contact by that meteor. That is in my video. That is also fact. I just wanted to be and show you and make you aware of that. It is also in my video and made aware that the other location, or one of the other locations for a comet impact, was the UK. If I go to a place called Menwith Hill and search in the UK, excuse me while I do a search, we come down to a place like this, which is also yet another base with a lot of round things, very much similar to what we have. Now what I wanted to do is show you this, because it's the same thing, sir. And it says nothing to see here, /news -stripes, so whether that's in a US base. The relevancy here, sir, is the line of longitude it is on, because in my own videos, which is also fact, I said that one of the trajectories for the impact for the UK was a 200-kilometre wide comet coming directly from the south. In other words, the very centre of the UK, which is where that is, sir. Very concerning. I will finish up there, but I will say this. When they do get here, as much control as we see me, and I've said this before, when in Google Earth, I can go like this, and like this, and I can grab the earth, and do this, and do this. That is what these people can do. They will come in on the 25th of the 3rd. If not, they will be earlier. I have another date, and they've already told you what it will be. It may be 6 days earlier. We're running out of time very, very quickly. You could say, why do I think it's 6 days earlier? Because it's the 17th, 6 days earlier, and that's what's on this rock. The 1st of the 7th last year gave us 18 months, which was 17 months because we didn't get into January, and it also gave us 17, which is the day in March they get here. it would probably be the 7/8, even though the 23rd is what's written on that rock. If you really want me to know to do my job properly, it would be the 17th. So you've got about a week and a bit. Those installations worry me, but having said that, we've got to move on now. I'm saying to you this, everybody, we're getting really close to a situation where a lot of people need to know. We need to know, our good people need to know to have babies and start doing it now. That's what one of the lessons they're going to give us. They're going to try and encourage us to have more children before we meet the plane of the sun, because it comes very difficult to do so once they start moving the moon in and out from the sun. So that'll be one of their lessons. Listen, I will finish up, Commissioner Fuller. I can only say this, that these people have the ability to take every one they don't want on the planet off the planet. That is what I would expect to see. I've said to you, and you're not a silly man, I'm not a stupid guy either, these rocks being on all the rocks and the images on every one of them, it is just unbelievable that it's there. The logic and manner in which it's put there is far greater than anything we have. I do understand that you guys hide stuff. Trust me, these blokes come in, they will turn everything you've got to want to use against them off. They will more than likely remove people, I would expect, like just holers bowlers. Your clothes will fall to the ground and you will be gone. There's time to do it right still, and even now. So man, I'm not kidding. I do not understand. When the chips are down, there's nothing to do here, guys. Nothing. You must expose it and close it and lock up any MP associated with this behaviour, close down any intercontinental transportation of children used by element within the armed forces of any country. I'm absolutely certain once you start to move, they will help you. Absolutely. That's what the message is here. And trust me, I'm a bloke that's never been to a Masonic lodge here. I'm not one of you lot. And yet I know a lot more than I'm supposed to, I would imagine. Listen, I would find in this case our Prime Minister very guilty of having not informed people to get off the coast, and what should have happened last Christmas was that everybody should have already known what they're about to find out in a fortnight or so. I will leave you with that. Thank you very much for your attention. This is Brian Whitten and ET Art. Bye bye.